Hey guys, I'm making this video as sort of a progress report of sorts of me trying to figure out RNG manipulation for the final data Xemnas fight. So for those who aren't aware of like data.org and like what the implications are for this, uh, final data Xemnas is it's part of the speedrun for data.org and it's considered one of the most RNG parts of the run because the entire fight revolves around you. Here, I'll play it right here. The entire fight revolves around you doing this combo right here and looping Xemnas to throw orbs at you over and over and over again until eventually his health will reach zero, and then he activates Final Laser Dome, and that will be considered a perfect fight. However, he doesn't. The problem is it's completely luck based, at least to us, why he breaks out right there. So sometimes he'll teleport when you do this loop, and for as long as we've been doing data.org, we don't know why he breaks out, and we don't know why we get the perfect loop every single time. We've just kind of assumed, oh, it's luck. So RNG manipulation it's been a pretty important thing, and it's been around for I want to say like more than a year, like a year or maybe 2 years, or probably closer to 2 years. But RNG manipulation has been used to make fights that have been previously super luck based pretty much consistent for the entire run, or for at least the beginning of the run. For example, Zaldin. Zaldin is at the very beginning of the run, and we RNG manipulate him to give us the perfect, to give us perfect AI that we can use to get the perfect fight. If we didn't RNG manipulate him, then what he would give us is just luck. The attacks that he would use would be completely luck based. So if we just did runs without doing RNG manipulation, the fight could last way longer than it usually does, like minutes longer. So when RNG manipulation was found, it was really important to like it was a big breakthrough for like Zaldin. And so we were able, from that point till now, we've been able to RNG manipulate a lot of fights, because after you defeat Zaldin, the address, this is the address that we use right here in the bottom left of the video. This is the address that we look at to keep track of RNG manipulation. So if you do the Zaldin fight perfectly, then that means that the RNG is in a consistent state, so you can continue it for like fights after Zaldin. So you can RNG manipulate like way far into the run for a decent chunk. So far we were able to RNG manipulate Zaldin, Luxord, and Axel very easily, and then after that, it gets a little hard to decide who we want to RNG manipulate. And with the recent route changes and all that, I've been looking into trying to figure out how to RNG manipulate Data Xemnas, because he's been considered one of the most RNG dependent fights in the entire run. So this is my progress report, and you'd think that maybe it'd be like relatively easy, like, oh dude, you can get the perfect fight. It turns out that it's really hard. So typically when you fight other bosses, I wish I had video to show you this, but when you fight other bosses, the RNG, or this address only advances like very few times and very consistently throughout the fight. However, with this fight, it goes all over the place, as you can see by the values over to the left. Like it's really crazy, and it's really hard to keep track of. But the seed that I've been able to get after Axel is actually like pretty good, and it's one that I'm able to work with. There are just a few parts of the fight, and there are a few parts in the address where it advances seemingly randomly, and I'm going to try and figure that out. And I'm posting this on YouTube to maybe hopefully get some insight from people that are actually like smarter than me at this sort of thing. So yeah. So this is like, there are 3 fights that I recorded, and I recorded every single advancement in the address. Like every single time this address changed, I recorded it right here on this Excel document. And this is basically exactly what the fight looks like if you just like read it from top to bottom. It's pretty confusing just from looking at it like this, but if you use this little key that I made right here, it gets a little bit easier to understand. So the green values, there's only one green value. It's at the very, very beginning before the fight even starts. It starts at this value right here, and that's consistent. And then it moves over to when he teleports and uses a move without using Forced Revenge. That only happens once, so you don't really see that often. And then you see these other values a lot more often. Blue is when he orbs. Purple is when he uses vines. And as you'll see, when he uses vines, it advances the address by a lot. But thankfully, it actually like ends up in a consistent spot. So that's good. Gray is when he uses Force Revenge. So here, I'll skip to a part right here in the video. Let's see. So he's about to use a Forced Revenge after I use Explosion, so keep track of the address right here. So I'm gonna frame advances. So that's the last hit right there. That's Forced Revenge right there, and that's let's take a look here. I think it's that one right there. That's when he uses Forced Revenge, and that's when he decides to use a move. However, when he actually orbs, it's when he throws them right here, where it advances right there to 45EF, this value right here, this blue one. So this is an important distinction to make. And then his address also advances for other reasons, which makes this is the reason why it's so hard, because it advances for multiple different things and it's hard to control all of them. It advances when you use Guard Break, and it advances when you use Explosion, and it advances for like every single hit of Explosion too, as you can see right here. Light Purple, now this is where things get really, really tricky. Light Purple is when he gets hit by Reflect, and it's really weird because he gets hit by Reflect a lot in the fight, and he doesn't, his address does not advance at all. Like right here, he gets hit by Reflect right there, right? And it doesn't advance. Same right here. Just doesn't advance. But let me see if I can find it. Right about let's see. It's later in the video. I don't have exact timestamps. You'll have to forgive me. I kind of just like threw this together at the last second. So like right around, no, actually it continues after this. And I'll scroll up right here so that we can get a look. So right here, and then use Explosion, Forced Revenge, and then right here is when it's going to happen, and it's really bizarre. So he uses the orbs, right? So we're right here in the address and the progression. And then when I use Reflect this time, for whatever reason, this time, I reflect, and then I do what I normally do. And then you look in the bottom left, and then it advances for all of the hits of Reflect. And I don't know why. It's a complete mystery to me, and it's a big deal too, because this loop right here, it was this loop on the left, the third loop, loop 3. It was going exactly the same way as loop 2, and loop 2 almost got a perfect fight. But loop 3, right here, at this part, it Reflect suddenly advanced it when it seemingly wasn't supposed to, and I don't really see the reason why Reflect sometimes, very rarely, advances it, and sometimes, and most of the time, it doesn't. So I'm still trying to figure that out, and I'll show that later on. And then red is when he breaks out. That's just the last value. It's just at the very end of the loop. And then white is when the address just seemingly advances for no reason, and I'll show that as we go along. So yeah, you can kind of like get a grasp of what the fights look like by just looking at the colors, really. He starts off, he teleports, he throws a couple of orbs, and then I do a combo that ends with Guard Break, and then he Forced Revenges, uses orb, combo, Forced Revenge, vines, combo, and then you kind of, combo, explosion, Forced Revenge, and then you kind of get the idea. And then later on, this is what the loop looks like. It's just Guard Break, explosion, Forced Revenge, orb, and then it just repeats itself until eventually he breaks out for whatever reason. So, so I'm going to get to the parts where it's confusing, because seemingly things are like relatively consistent as long as you do everything the same, right? The problem, though, is that there are some parts where it's just not consistent. So I'll go to the part where it's white, where I just don't really understand exactly what's going on. So let's see, we're right here in this loop. And then let's see, right here. So right here, this is where we're orbing, where he's orbing. And then right here is where it's going to advance, right? And it's right there. Nothing here is really happening, seemingly. I'm just reflecting, and then I'm going to do my combo onto Xemnas, right? And it doesn't normally, like, it only does this, like, every now and then, but I don't really know why. And for some odd reason, it shows up, like, almost every single time when I repeat the fight, right? It keeps on showing up in the same exact spots. However, down here, it didn't show up for the first loop, and I feel like that was the big reason why it eventually failed, but it showed up for these loops instead, and for no particular reason. So here, I'll show that. So the big theory here is that when Riku gets hit, but I don't think that is entirely true, and I'm going to try and find a spot to prove that theory. Like, for example, let's see. So where are we? Right here, right? So this is the spot. So we're at A5 right here, right? And then we're going to, let's see, advance to the orb. Let's see. Orbs right there. So we're at 4-5 now. We're at the blue one. And then where all the other ones were just the white one would show up randomly. This one it doesn't. And it's where and it is where Riku gets hit by the orbs too. So let's see. So reflecting, just like, you know, where it usually shows up, right? And then if you look at on the right side, right? Riku, I'm pretty sure, is going to run into the orb. Oh, looks like I was wrong. Contradict myself. The Riku theory lives on. But yeah, as you can see, it just doesn't show up anywhere in there. Whereas later on in the other loops, let's see if I can find it. Here, right here. This is in the second loop, A5 again. Oops. Reflect. There's Riku again off to the side. And then, bam, it just randomly shows, there it is. There's the advancement while I'm reflecting and I'm in the middle of the orbs. And Riku hasn't gotten hit yet. In fact, I don't think he gets hit at all. He just stands off to the side while I combo him. So, yeah, this is a big deal. I need to figure out, like, you know, if one advancement just, like, happens for no apparent reason, and that's the reason why the loop eventually fails, because I ended up on the wrong address, then that's a huge problem. So I need to figure this out. So I'm probably going to do more testing and more recordings to see if I can find some form of some solid reasoning for why it just advances like that, because it doesn't advance every single combo, as you can probably see right here. So, like, let's see here. So I combo right here, right? A combo Forced Revenge, and then it does it, right? Consistently. And then I do it again, and then it doesn't show up. And then I do it with Explosion this time. That time it was just ended with Guard Break. I do it with Explosion this time. It does it. I do it with Guard Break again. It does it. And then here I do it with Explosion on this side, and it doesn't work. And then I do it with Explosion on this side, and it does, and it just appears. So I don't really know the exact reasoning. And then the other thing that I needed to point out is when Reflect, for some odd reason, does advance the RNG. So let me see if I can try and find this. Let me see if this is the correct one. think it's an earlier one, actually. Right there. Okay, here we go. This is it. Let's see. So, where are we? Exactly. Okay, we're in the middle of the explosion. So explosion, and then we're down at the Forced Revenge right here. And then orb right there. And then reflect. And then I slide into him, right? Or I use flash step to get it to him. And then there, it advances, advances again, advances again, advances again, and advances again, and advances for like each individual hit of reflect. And I don't know why. And this was like probably the big reason why this loop failed, was because the address was advanced in a way that I didn't want to, and then eventually it hit a bad address, and then the game was like, okay, well, bad luck, I'm gonna break out. So yeah, again, I don't really, yeah, it's just I reflected this time, and I did the flash step, and the RNG advanced for seemingly no reason. So yeah, these are the two things. These are the two big things. Is this random address that just seems to show up whenever I set up a reflect. After the orbs, it seems. It only seems to show up after orbs. It never seems to show up after vines. And then reflect randomly adding randomly advancing the address. I don't really know exactly why. So yeah, I'm just kind of trying to figure this out. I'm not good at like computer science or anything, or looking at code. I'm horrible at it, but I'm just kind of brute forcing through it and just kind of recording my findings, and I'm probably going to do more findings, but maybe someone who's smarter than me who can give me like suggestions, because I've listened to a lot of people's suggestions in chat, and a lot of people were like, it's like the second orb hitting your reflect, it's Riku getting hit, it's like maybe you use like slide dash instead of flash step, and like I'm open to all of these ideas, but a lot of them haven't really, paid off in the end. So I'm going to do more testing, do more recording, and see what I can find. But this is just kind of my first progress report. Sorry that it isn't like completely like super professionally done in Sony Vegas. I just kind of wanted to get it done and just kind of get it on YouTube. Just kind of like more of a thought dump more than like a professionally done video, because this is just really like a work in progress, just like, research, and this is just kind of how research is done, just on the fly, just as you go along. But you try and keep things as organized as you can as you go along. So yeah, hopefully this yields some results in the future. This is just like, day one of, of this particular iteration of data Xemnas RNG manipulation. And hopefully we can get something out of this. Yeah. Later, boys and girls.